We will get started with the Georgetown-Scott County Planning Commission meeting for the month of June. And let the record show that Miss Singer is coming in.
Another film.
And Mr. Green is not here. All right, I need approval of the May invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jesse. Second by Dan Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition say nay. All right, approval of the May minutes. Hopefully you have looked those over. If there's any changes to last month.
I move that they be accepted.
All right, Mr. Stone
Second.
I'll second.
and Mr. Garrett,
Mm-hmm.
second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And approval for the June agenda.
Listen.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith and second by Ms. Singer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Excellent.
All right, Mr. Kane, are there any items for postponement or withdrawal that?
No changes to the agenda.
Okay,
I would like to note that the PowerPoint is wrong. Item C and D are G for tonight. It just was something that I guess didn't get updated. So the golf townhomes projects,
right,
those are still going in here tonight. It's just the PowerPoint's wrong.
Oh, what's this supposed to?
gotcha. Is it still the first item?
Correct.
All right. All right, if you plan on speaking tonight, would you stand and raise your right hand, and Mr. Perkins will swear you in.
Consent agenda.
Do you swear or affirm the statement you're to make tonight to be the truth to the best of your information and belief? Thank you.
I overlooked item E on our agenda, the consent agenda.
There are 3 items eligible. Items B, C, and D under new business are all eligible for consent.
B, C, and D. Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry, A, B, and C.
A, B, and C.
So within Airstream, the parking lot at Mount Vernon and Arno.
We have carriers. Okay. All right, so the first item on tonight's agenda is under old business, PSP -2024-15 and PDP -2024-16, townhomes of Cherry Blossom, Phase 7.
So this is an item that was postponed from the May meeting of the Planning Commission. This is a preliminary subdivision plat for 27 single-family lots and a preliminary development plan for 9 of those to be single-family detached residences and 18 of those being single-family attached residences, which will be organized as 6 triplex townhomes in the Golf Townhomes of Cherry Blossom subdivision. It's the multifamily area of the Cherry Blossom subdivision, and it is accessed around and through Ashley Drive and Icabana Drive. They are proposing an access point to Old Oxford Road that I will get into momentarily. It's an R2 PUD area. The zone change was approved in the 90s, so 94, 95. And since then, they've just been slowly phased in their development of this area. Pre-development right now in this area of Cherry Blossom, we're looking at 15.07 acres of developable land that's still zoned R2. And this phase, phase 7, would propose the development of 4.94 acres of those properties and leaving an area with an acreage of 9.57 acres of land available for any further phases. They'll be using access through through the golf townhomes of Cherry Blossom that are pre-existing, and they are proposing a connection to Old Oxford Road, as I stated previously. This is kind of the breakdown of the lots themselves. We do have several variances and waivers associated with this application, many of which are carryovers from when they were approved with their R2 PUD zoning in the 90s. They're looking for a minimum lot size of 50 to 60 for the single-family attached residences in a 50-foot wide building line, as well as a front yard setback for those properties. For the detached dwellings, they're looking for a variance to their lot size minimum to 3,300 square feet and lot width to 33 feet and average triplex width of 105 feet. This is the property here. I have a larger zoomed out one to kind of understand where we are and everything. I've highlighted kind of 3 nearest residential components that are impacted probably the most notably by this, which is the golf townhomes of Cherry Blossom phases 1 through 6. The Mill Apartments, which is an apartment complex that has 1 entrance in, 1 entrance out, that's directly south of this developed area. And then the Villages at Lanes Run subdivision.
That Mills Apartment is not part of this development.
It is not part of this development, correct. It is a pre-existing project that was developed by a completely different operator at a completely different time with a different zone and everything. It's just on the same side of the road, and I wanted to identify it specifically. You can also see in this area the intersection of Connector Road and Cherry Blossom, as well as Ikebana, Blossom Park, and Connector Road, and all the other kind of feeder commercial operators that are in this area. And then to the north, you can see the villas at Cherry Blossom Village, and the kind of estatey larger lots that we have that kind of are interspersed within the golf course. There we go. This is the zoning of the parcel here, as well as I did call out the specific roads that we'll be servicing. So you can see Amick Way, you can see kind of where the site correlates with it, the mill, again, Connector Road, and all the other kind of commercial areas at that intersection. And then this is the proposal here. So they are showing a kind of loop connection between Ashley Drive and Ikebana. Ikebana being the one that will end in the cul-de-sac and then making that turn, and Ashley Drive connecting just kind of south to Oxford Road directly, or all Oxford Road directly. Let's see. This is a greater zoomed in portion here. So the 9 single-family residential lots will be adjoining, will be backyard to backyard. The existing phase 6 lots, as well as adjoining 2 lots will adjoin the 6 lots that are the phase 6 lots that have been located at the Amick Way cul-de-sac. On the other side of the road, and in continuance of the phase 5 townhome style, we see kind of the bend that goes around the cul-de-sac, and then facing opposite the existing the proposed single-family residences, arranged in the 6 townhome units, and then kind of directly south of that or east of that is the remaining parcelage that could be developed that still has that PUD zoning. It's the same as this one. They are requesting variances for minimum lot size for both the attached and detached dwellings to match their previously approved R2 PUD zoning. In the staff report, I reference and kind of talk about that specific parcelage and everything like that. And I would like to note that we essentially support the variances to the minimum lot size to be consistent with the previous lots and make sure that that character is kind of kept throughout, just making sure that these aren't getting too close to property lines, but again, still kind of having that consistent distance from property lines and all other kind of factors that we see in the specifically townhome areas of Bethpage and Shadow Creek. The homes would have the similar style of build line setback, lot widths, and everything like that, and it would be consistent with the previous ones. So staff is in support of the requested variances to the single-family areas and the single-family attached and single-family detached areas of the property. This becomes our main item, which is why we were kind of having some concerns at the previous workshop meeting in May, which was the connection requirement to Oxford Road. I kind of go into it in great detail in the staff report itself, but we are well aware of the conditions of the Connector Road, Cherry Blossom Way, and Icabana Drive intersection and the need for some improvements to be made. It has been identified in the KYTC 6-year plan to make some improvements to Connector Road to hopefully kind of facilitate traffic through. But at this time, there really is no direct connection for the Golf Townhomes of Cherry Blossom to get to an alternative route if a circumstance, God forbid, happens at that intersection. They are kind of stuck in the situation, or they're going very far out and then kind of hook-shotting it in. We had identified it in previous phases of development that at 100 units, they needed to make a connection to a secondary access point, which is consistent with our subdivision development regulations. And in the phase 6 approvals, they were required to submit roadway plans, but they never made a connection to Oxford Road. So when they came back and they said, hey, we'd like to do phase 7, and they did not show it, it caused a lot of concern for staff. And we discussed it at that previous workshop about those issues with that lack of connection, at which they postponed the application to make this connection, which they are now showing through the property from Ashley Way, or Ashley Drive. And then this is the intersection that is proposed at Old Oxford Road and Ashley Drive. They're showing 2 turn lanes outwards, 1 lane coming in, kind of a center block area, which is kind of consistent with what we saw when they were required to submit their roadway connection as part of phase 6. And we would just require that this be reviewed and making sure that it meets all of our expectations rules, has appropriate acceleration, deceleration, turning lanes when required, and ultimately is done in a timely fashion. With this construction being on the back end of the development, staff finds it important that the connection to Old Oxford Road be made prior to the start of construction of these lots. So we've put in, as part of the specific condition that references the connection to Old Oxford Road, that the connection be made before the final subdivision plat is recorded. It's absolutely essential that this connection be made in compliance with our regulations, as well as for the safety of existing users in the area and for directing construction traffic to not have to go through an existing neighborhood that has street parking on some of the sides of the roads and just ultimately would really be a disruptive maneuver to get through the property. There's a lot of turns, there's a lot of stopping, and ultimately it's not a very efficient idea to have these types of situations where we're forcing construction traffic to go through, which is where they're showing this now and why we are requesting and putting as part of their condition of approval that they make that connection prior to development plan being finalized and prior to the recording of their plats. Moving onwards, kind of talking about development, they are showing again the 9 single-family lots for detached dwellings, the 18 single-family attached. This is 3 less than what we previously had seen. They had previously shown a townhome development, which townhomes, townhome parking spaces are dependent upon the number of bedrooms in the unit. And they are showing 4 off-street parking spaces per townhome. And typically we see either 2 off-street spaces, which a garage can count for it, and then you would have a driveway spot. If you have a 1-bedroom townhome, or for a 2 or 3-bedroom unit, we're looking at 2.5 off-street spaces being provided on the property. And at this time, they've identified that they can do 4 per lot, so that does meet our requirement for off-street parking. It is important to note that I believe Ashley Drive is on-street parking on one side, if not also Icabana Drive, so that there is some on-street parking, but again, we want to direct people to park off the streets, kind of reduce the clog of cars being in roadways, that type of deal, but allow for widths so that they could park there if they absolutely had to. It does not state the specific number of parking spaces for single-family detached dwellings, and the subdivision development regulations does have the requirements listed there, which I kind of talk about in the staff report. If you have a 2 to 3 bedroom unit, we're expecting 2 off-street parking spaces, and if you have a 4 to 5 bedroom unit, we're expecting 3. All in all, Staff is much more in favor of this application and does recommend. What is speaking? Oh, no, I don't have that many slides in there this time. But you put, there we go. So these are the variances requested, just in quick summary. Staff does recommend in favor of the variances. I didn't really talk about the front yard setback in particular, but again, a lot of these variances are consistent with the previously approved phases, and staff would just recommend the continuance of those variances in this phase. And staff ultimately recommends approval, as I'd stated previously, with subject with the approval of their 3 variances. I kind of grouped them up by home type and then specifically call out the triplex building waiver, and then 10 conditions of approval. First 8 are here, and the one that I'd like to specifically call out is the language of condition 10, which is that connection to Old Oxford Road needs to be made prior to recording a subdivision plat, and they need to meet all of the standards for any additional improvements to Old Oxford Road as well, which may include excel, decel lanes. It's just kind of something that we will work with them on at that point in time.
I know in the workshop we talked about, on the engineering side, some changes on the minimum lot size, or I think it was actually increasing from what we had listed.
Yes, so there was, I believe the applicant's agent had identified an error just in the typing of
Okay.
the language. So in the staff report, I reference a lot 3,000 square feet, when in fact they are, at least as I have a verbal statement from the workshop meeting, wanting the 3,300 square feet, which is consistent with their PUDs that were previously approved.
Okay.
But in your staff report, it said you wouldn't support the 3,000 square foot, but would support 3,948. Are you changing that to 3,200 now?
I would recommend kind of amending that request just to be consistent with their PUD approvals previously granted.
Okay.
To be 3,500?
I'm sorry.
To be 3,500 or 30?
It would be 3,300
3,300.
instead of 3,948, which is the smallest lot that's shown right now,
Okay.
but that there may be some changes with improvements and connections to the stormwater system and some sinkholes that kind of reduce the buildable area of these lots or cause some lot reconfiguration. So it felt appropriate to just keep consistent with their PUD approvals and just carry it through this phase.
Any more questions for Elise? Commission? Would the owner's representative have anything to say? Come right on up, Roy.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Rory Cayley. I'm with EA Partners, with the engineering firm. We are agreeable to her presentation and the 10 conditions. There's some folks here who probably want to talk to you. I'll stick around, try to answer any questions I can.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Short and sweet. Do we have anybody from the audience that would like to address either the owners or the staff? Yes, ma'am.
It's not the first time I've met you. My name is Pat Foley, and I'm a resident of the Villas at Cherry Blossom. And we have several of our residents here, so I mean, I'm not the only one speaking, but I think they don't want to talk, so. But we are pleased with the amended plat from the original, and I think it has addressed a lot of our concerns. But we still have a couple of concerns that we want to address first. And the first one is the proposed road, and we are totally in agreement with your staff report. Particularly item number 10, we want the road complete prior to any new construction beginning. And we want it to remain as a condition of your approval, that it remain open at all times for ingress and egress, and that is extremely important to us. And I think we've talked more than once about the only intersection that gets us in and out of our subdivision right now is very dangerous. This will provide us another way to get out and not risk our life every time we want to go to the grocery. So that is the first one. But I think the second one is probably more that I want to talk about, and that's the placement of the triplexes. If you remember on the picture, there were 6 triplexes. And that has improved from where he started out with 10. He's at least kind of scaled that back, and we do thank the developer for doing that. That was, I realize that was a big thing. But of the 6 proposed, 2 of them back up to the golf course, and that is in keeping with the current layout of our subdivision or our community. The other 4 come across the middle of our community, and they basically are putting us in a position where they're almost cutting our community in half. We're having all of the homes and the other things in the front part, and then we have these 4 that cut us apart, and then I have no idea what's coming beyond that. I mean, he may decide to put more triplexes in there. He may decide he's going to put more houses. We don't know. But the placement of those 4 alters the essential character of our vicinity and our community. And I think that concerns us a great deal. And I did suggest, and I have talked to the engineer about maybe moving those over to the other side of the Ashley Drive where they back up to the apartment complex, the mill. And I think that would be very, very much in keeping with our developer's original plan, which is for all of these triplexes to be on the outside edges and not in the center of the community. And I think this is a break with that. And I did notice in reading some of the notes that even the staff report talked about that this can be done by a revision or an amendment to the preliminary plat. So I think at this point, what we're asking is that at least the board encourage and suggest to this developer that he needs to consider moving those 4. He wants to take them down the one side or he wants to take them the other side. We're perfectly agreeable to that. But we are concerned with the placement in the sense that, like I said, it now divides us. We have one developed community here, we've got these townhouses here, and then we've got something here, and we don't know what that's going to be. So we would ask if the board particularly make as a condition of your approval that the road has to be put in, and that's your staff report, and we totally agree with that. And then we would ask that the board even suggest to him or encourage the developer to take just those 4. 2 of them are fine, they don't bother us at all, and we don't mind if you want to go that way, put more out that way. But at least consider moving those to the side rather than to the very center of the community. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Lisa, can you put the slide up that showed the one that had the mill apartments in there?
There it is. It's the pink, he's the red, and you can see how he's dividing our community.
So, all of those inside the blue are townhouses?
No, those are single homes and duplexes. There are some of those in there, but they're smaller. It's the mill apartments are in the pink. These are all of our community.
I understand.
And the ones on the edge are triplexes.
But in Cherry Blossom, inside the blue, have you got a mixture of single family and duplexes?
We do.
Are there any townhomes in there?
We have the triplexes. You can see 4 of them on the side there, and they back up to the golf course. They are not in the actual community. They're on the edges, the peripheral. And so we're asking.
Those at the top in the curve there?
Yes, where it says Icabana Drive, goes up there. And this is the golf course, and they back up to that. His original plan called for more of these triplexes, but he was going to bring them down the side. What we're asking is to consider putting them over here where they back up to the mill. And they don't divide the community into different sections when we're one community are supposed to be.
This brown section in the bottom right-hand corner is all,
These?
no,
Empty space.
that empty space right there, all of that right there has not been developed, is that correct?
That is correct. And we do not know what his plans are for that, but it is not.
Well, he may not know yet.
I would say.
And I know we talked about this at the workshop and some engineering challenges associated with it. I certainly couldn't speak to the specifics of it. Do you want to respond?
You want to finish, or you want to jump in the middle?
I'm pretty much going ahead.
All right. Yeah, well, I guess do a quick little background. So it's 30 years. We're on phase 7. The area that's shrub growth there around the red is the undeveloped area of the Gulf townhomes of Cherry Blossom. We were here a month ago with work session. Everyone kind of asked that the triplexes were not put next to currently recorded singles and doubles. He revised that. I mentioned the change that was brought up this last Monday. He was not interested in having yet another change or a postponement to modify the plans again. In the blue area, there are fourplexes, triplexes, 1s and 2s. Everything in there is a single-family home, whether you're attached on no sides or on 2 sides. I don't believe a triplex divides a neighborhood. They're all through there. Some of that's even on a private street, and there's still townhouses on that one section of a private street within there. Riviera, Ikebana, and Amick. I looked today at the PVA for the 2024 taxes. It didn't matter where you were in any of those. Your values weren't changing between 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. I just feel like he's not ready to do the next section. He's been here for 30 years, and this is as far as he's got on this piece. It's not moving quickly. Last time I believe another firm was here was in 2019 with phase 6. So we're only bringing 27 lots in at a time, and we are giving that connection out the back. All the engineering stuff that has to go with this, development plan and subdivision plan run on 2 different tracks. There will be stormwater management studies. We'll have to figure out where that goes. Karst features are in the areas. They get in there and start doing the construction. They have to make sure that they don't run into any items in there that will, cause extra work for the roads. The 3,300 square feet variance for the townhome is consistent with previous phases, and that's generally the inside one of a triplex. So those numbers were fine.
Ms. Foley mentioned the importance of 10, that the entrance is open all the time for
Yeah,
ingress.
we don't
Is that
have.
your plan? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
just
we
an
haven't
emergency
proposed
exit?
any gates. I know there's one further out where it was access there. There were a few accidents caused on that, and they're wanting to keep that closed. We did not run Ikebana straight out to Old Oxford. We think running it into Ashley, it's a way out, but it's not going to be a cut through. As you were saying, you've got to wind your way back and forth through there. We did denote that she wanted the construction access to be from Old Oxford as well, so it didn't go through the neighborhood. We'll put that note on our plans.
Should we add that one sentence to number 10? It's to be,
Well,
I don't see.
Add it to the condition? It's not specified in here.
okay.
Should we do that?
Yeah, you can there. I mean, it's, yeah. And the improvements to Old Oxford, not just a connection. The improvements to Old Oxford also need to be part of that also.
Yeah, the first plat we do will have the dedication of Ashley out and the dedication of that connection.
Okay.
If we're good, we'll get all the lots and shown at the same time as that road connection.
Yeah, okay. What I was trying to get at, Ms. Foley, in that blue area there, is you have a mixture of different types of housing. And so that's all we're doing, or that's all they're proposing in this one also, is a mixture of single family and triplexes. And you already have it in phase 1 through 6 there, so. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Allen?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name's Alonzo Allen. I'm a resident of Cherry Blossom. I had a question regarding coming out of Ashley Drive, going across Old Oxford. Elise, can you put that? Go back one, please. Go back one, please. That one. Coming out of Ashley Drive, and going straight across, looks like it might not be a good, strong connection. Looks like we'd have to do a jog to the right, go straight across.
We talked about that at the workshop.
Okay.
Because the developer across the road has got that wider boulevard than we've got here.
Right.
They matched up one side, but weren't able to match up the other side.
Okay. Thank you.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone else in the audience have any comments? All right, if there are none,
I'll make a motion for approval of PSP 2024-15 and PDP 2024-16 with the additional statement to condition 10, that the entrance and should
Connection.
remain open at all times for ingress and egress.
And what was that language you said?
It's already in there. It says improvements to Old Oxford Road.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll second that motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Ms. Singer,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Vest,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett.
Yes.
Mr. Green's not here, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. If you would see Mr. Perkins up here. All right, the next item on the agenda, PSP 2024-24, is Woodland Airstream property, subdividing it into two plats, is eligible for consent. Is there anyone in the audience that is opposed to that or would like to hear it? Seeing and hearing none, I will take and by the way, just for your information, we have discussed all of these Monday at our workshop. We didn't just come in here and decide to approve it without discussing it here. So we have heard all of these. So I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to accept PSP 2024-2.
And a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Vest,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Singer,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Do we have an applicant here to sign?
Oh, yes. And the next item is PDP 2024-25, 150 Mount Vernon Drive, parking expansion. Again, this is consent eligible. Is there anyone that is opposed to that or would like to hear it? All right, seeing none, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval of PDP 2024-25.
And a second.
I'll second.
And Dan's heavy on the second. All right. Ms. Singer,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Vest,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and the chair approves. All right. Do we have someone here? All right. We talked about this job at the workshop Monday. We were tickled to death. For those of you who don't know what this is, that's that office building back up behind the hospital. It's been vacant for several years and been an eyesore, and we've got some new owners in here, and moving some folks in there and needed additional parking. It's a good thing for an infill project. The next one is PDP 2024-26 R&L Carriers. Is there anyone opposed to that or would like to hear it? All right, I will take a motion. Whoop, whoop. Do what? Yes, ma'am.
I just have some questions about it.
All right. We can hear this. Do you need to, do we need to present it first or just hear her questions?
Either one.
You might have answered some of my questions, so go ahead.
Okay, okay, I hope
We would want to let Joe present maybe what might be his last one anyway, right?
so.
That's right.
One more at least.
Second to last one, all right.
We can't make it easy.
That's right.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Ready, let's go.
Right. This is a request for amended preliminary development plan approval for R&L Carriers. This project was approved previously in November of '21 for a smaller cross-dock facility. The site essentially is the same as tonight, but they were going to phase it, and they only really got approval for phase one. After preliminary approval, they submitted construction plans, were approved, and got final development plan approval. So actually, they're approved to begin construction, and they have started construction already for the smaller development plan. But they came to us and said they want to do a larger building. We told them it was a major change, so even though they already have approval to start, they want to do a larger facility, they need to come back through planning commission approval, and then they'd have to amend the final development plan and get that finished before they could do what's addition to what's already approved. So this is 531 Cherry Blossom Way on the Delaplane Spur by exit 129 south of Triport Road. Property has been zoned, so it was zoned in '21. The city of Georgetown approved the zoning and annexed the property, and it's now zoned light industrial. So this is the site. This shows zoning as A1, so that the light gray is I1. So this is an old zoning map from the previous approval, but this is the site, but now it's zoned I1. This is the entrance. So the original entrance, when they came for the zone change, was going to be at the end of the that access road, and they were able to obtain an access point between the hotel. The hotel doesn't show up on this photo because it's an old aerial, but there's a hotel to the northwest, and then there's that natural gas fueling facility. So they've got an access point that they were able to get in between that. So that's going to come down to a bulb to access the lot to the north, and then wrap around to the site. I'll skip these. I'll come back to them. So this is their development plan. It's a 156 bay cross-dock facility, and then a fueling area, and then a maintenance building. And then they're showing 2 additional future expansion buildings in the dark gray. And then the main parking lot for employees and visitors is on the far right in this site plan, adjacent to those lots along the spur road. As far as the setbacks and all the standards of the I-1 district, the buildings, lot area coverage, height, they all meet all the requirements of I-1. The only waiver issue is the landscaping. In the previous approval, since they weren't building out all the way to the interstate, we do require an I-1 anytime you have a double frontage lot, you adjoin like an arterial or collector that you don't have access to. There's a buffer requirement along that. They got a waiver to that previously because they weren't building all the way to that side of the property, this side of the property. With this expansion, they are kind of building out the site all the way to the edge. So we reviewed that waiver again. That waiver would have, or that landscaping would have been a 15-foot buffer with either a tree every 40 feet and a 6-foot hedge, or a double row of trees, 20 foot on center. To meet the canopy requirements, they're required additional landscaping, and they put that landscaping in the back around the detention area. So they are, if this was considered their perimeter buffer along the interstate, they could meet it with the canopy coverage. So we're suggesting that they still be given the waiver because they're not technically, putting it in a 15-foot buffer, but that the waiver just be restated to say the landscaping as shown on the approved development plan count towards their screening on that side. Other than that, they meet all the interior parking lot landscaping, the parking lot perimeter landscaping, and all the other requirements of the district. The only other concern was with the truck traffic, and we had a question at workshop, is this a 24-hour facility? It is, but most of the traffic's going to be during the daytime hours, and I think they do have the traffic engineer here that could answer specific questions. But they did do a traffic study, and even with the increase in the size of the cross-dock facility, the level of service of all the intersections that serve this development are level of service C or better still, even with the expanded facility. But it did show improvements are needed to the spur road just to provide more turning radius for trucks. So they are going to, and you can kind of see it in this image along the spur road in the intersection, that grade area is additional pavement that they're gonna put down on the spur road just to have additional truck traffic. Since the previous approval too, that gas station went in and did some changes. They put in a stop sign, I think, and so that's changed the intersection a little bit too. But they're gonna make these improvements to widen and to allow for turning radius. And they do have stacking area, at the entrance and the bulb and the turn. So there is room for trucks to kind of park and stack there if, they do back up. So staff is recommending approval to the amended preliminary development plan, and then they will have to obviously complete the final development plan, get final signatures, get all the engineering approved for the expanded area before they can actually start construction of any of the additional building beyond what's already approved. So we are recommending approval with the waiver and with the conditions in the staff report, minus condition number 10, and we kind of talked about this. There was a condition in there with the previous approval that the drains underneath the fueling areas go into be filtered, go into the sanitary sewer, while there was Ben and I think the state plumbing inspector didn't want that in the sanitary sewer. So we're recommending we just strike that condition out. So all the conditions but condition 10.
Any questions for Joe? All
Did that
right.
answer your questions?
Now, do we have a representative from the owner here? Is there anything you need to say?
If there are any questions, I can address them.
Okay, all right. Yes, ma'am. Come on up to the podium, please. State your name.
Arlene Sharp, and I live at the end of Cherry Blossom Way Spur, one little house down there. The traffic is awful, and as far as those stop signs, I think I'm the only one in the Rumpke trucks that stop. Everybody else just blows through them, and it's dangerous. How far is the facility gonna be from my house?
That's at least 800 feet.
Okay. Is it gonna be kind of like in the center of the property?
I can get my cheat sheet here, if I see how it's exact numbers. I can kind of point to it if
Okay.
Yeah, might be easy to see on that relative to the interstate and Cherry Blossom.
My name's Sam Pollock, and I help out with the construction. I'm the director of construction.
All right, thanks, Sam.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. All right, so you're right here,
Yes.
and then our front door is over here.
Okay.
And so this whole area, I don't know if you know or not, but there's gas line that comes through here.
Yes, I definitely, because of.
It's right over here, yes it does. And because of that, we can't get into there, and they're afraid of root systems around that gas pipe.
Yes, okay.
So we're not disturbing those trees, which was the discussion. And then in addition to that, we're gonna put some landscape up here to get you some more
Okay.
privacy.
And my other concern is there is a spring.
This area right here is
Yes.
wetland?
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to maintain a lake track, but it's getting the back up to the edge of my property.
Joe, do we have anything to drain that wetlands area?
We do, post storm sewer, pick it up.
Okay, so it'll drain and maybe not.
Or we're not gonna make it a dry basin in a way, because it's still wetland.
It's a spring there, so I don't know what you do about it.
Right.
Make it where it could drain, right now it doesn't.
I see what you're
It's
saying.
backing up to my.
So we are going to address that.
Okay, okay.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
No, that does it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And you'll be here.
Okay. And who's that gonna be?
Travis Shaw, and he'll be stopping by.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlene. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
About 1,000 feet.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we have heard from the staff and from the owner, and
Make a motion to approve PDP 2024-26.
I'll second.
okay, Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Vest,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Ms. Singer.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Mr. Garrett. Yes. Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
I'll answer anything. Well, just think.
Good job, Joe. Unanimous.
And I just want to compliment you all for the way you treated one of our citizens here tonight, saying that you're actually going to have your stop by and see her in person.
GC will have their PM stop by as well, but we're gonna have our construction project manager stop by there, so it is, we want to be good neighbors.
We're glad to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is
They
PDP
need to
20.
sign. They need to sign.
Huh?
They need to sign.
Yeah, come down here and see Mr. Perkins here. PDP 2024-27, TMMK PV project.
Okay, this is a preliminary development plan approval request for a solar farm on the Toyota property. This is a 27-acre site that's on the edge, southeast edge of Toyota property between Lexus Way, so north of Lexus Way, south of the Outer Ring Road, and west of Cherry Blossom Way. It's a property that's zoned BP1 and I1 light industrial. The remainder of the Toyota plant site is zoned I2 heavy industrial. But this is a request for approval for basically a ground mount solar PV solar farm, large solar array on 27 acres. And my staff report has it in 2 phases, but I think they're getting approval for the whole thing at once, and it may or may not be phased. So the approval is for a 12 megawatt facility on 27 acres. So you can go ahead and
I like that, the
Pretty.
way that looks better than the solar farm. If you can make that happen, fantastic.
Well, soon Main Street's going to look like that.
Well, looks like Rainbow Row in Charleston, maybe.
So the properties, I'll just go ahead. The property is zoned BP1, which energy plants, energy plants are allowable use, but BP1 has landscaping and screening requirements. This site adjoins I-2 on all the Toyota area. So to the north and to the west, it adjoins I-2 or I-1 and internal Toyota property. To the east and to the south, it adjoins Lexus Way and Cherry Blossom Way, but on the land on the adjoining side of the road is A1 agricultural. So it adjoins agriculturally zoned land. Anywhere BP1 adjoins ag, there's a 50-foot setback requirement and a 25-foot landscape buffer. So there is a requirement for buffering on those two frontages. The site is going to have no buildings, so it's just these ground-mounted the solar array system on a light gauge steel kind of frame. They're not going to be grading the site, so they're going to follow the natural grades of the site and just let the existing, they're going to remove the trees, obviously, but let the grass grow and just mow the grass underneath the arrays. So you can see the array on the upper right-hand corner, so it'll be south-facing, but the maximum height of it will be 6 feet. The grades of the site, I don't know if you've gone out there, it's kind of a south-facing site, so there's a cut in Cherry Blossom Way, and it sits higher, and then there's kind of a dip in the middle where they're doing the raise, but it's kind of higher on the north and lower on the south, so it's gonna be kind of facing Lexus Way. So we don't really think the impact will be much to Cherry Blossom Way. There's no development right on the other side, so there's one house between Cherry Blossom Way and Oxford Road, and it's in a grove of trees, and it's kind of sited a little bit down. So the impact really will be to Lexus Way and to the south, and the property on the other side is zoned A1, but it's planned B5, so planned commercial development. So there's no residential there. There's no houses or nobody living on that side, and there probably won't be unless there's, that property is rezoned in the future. They're asking for a waiver to both the canopy requirements, and the canopy makes a lot of sense because they need to remove the canopy to get the sun, the full effect of the sun on the solar panels, but also to the buffer on the street side, because they don't want to hide this project. It's a renewable project. It's important to them to generate renewable energy power for their facilities. They want to advertise that community, and show off the array. So they're asking for a buffer to that boundary as well. Staff is in support of the buffer because it's a low impact use. There's no mass grading of the site. It will be surrounded by a fence and just limited lighting that'll be inward directed. We were concerned about the glare, and if there was a glare impact, then the buffer, we would have definitely kind of asked for the buffer and not been in support of the waiver. But the panels themselves have a coating that's only allows 2%. They absorb 98% of the glare. So we don't think there's going to be a glare impact to vehicle traffic. So to screen vehicle traffic and just to screen the whole project from the public, we don't feel it's necessary. The board may feel it's necessary, but we are in support as staff of the project, getting the waiver to the buffer for that reason, just because it's part of the larger Toyota facility, and it kind of just provides some visibility to the solar renewable project on the Toyota site. So we are recommending approval with the waiver to the perimeter landscaping, and then the conditions of approval are pretty standard because there's no real building construction on the site other than the ancillary kind of energy containment, transformers, and just a gravel road down the middle of the array, and then the 6-foot sections of 6-foot high sections of panels. So that's all I have. If you have any questions of me, I could answer them, but the applicant could probably answer your questions better than I could.
Two questions for you. You mentioned this, so that I just want to make sure they've addressed the reflection issue where they reside.
Yeah.
And the second issue is, the whole thing about the landscaping is so they can get full advantage of the sun. with this solar.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Good job, Joe. Last presentation.
Well, maybe not the last.
Well, maybe not.
No.
Not counting the comprehensive plan, maybe.
And then there's that.
Yeah, and then there's that.
So,
We agree with the plan as proposed.
okay, no problems there at all. Will these panels be fixed, or do they move with the sun at all?
Will be fixed.
Okay. The glare's been mentioned several times, and many times that I've gone I-64 going to Winchester there, I've never been blinded as I drive by. So I've seen several of these throughout the country and have no problem with it at all. Thank you for doing it. All right. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience?
I'm a resident of Pleasant Valley.
Uh-huh. Come right on up to the podium, please, and state your name.
My name is Tony Cottle. I'm a resident of Pleasant Valley, just right across the way from Lexus Way. And I was concerned about the glare when they started discussing it. But, as a lifelong resident of Kentucky, we're known for the bluegrass. And personally, I don't believe in covering our bluegrass with solar panels. You mentioned the one outside of Winchester. That points the other direction, by the way, because the sun has to be south in order to hit it and reflect back. But, Toyota's the largest manufacturing facility in the world for them, right here in Georgetown. I don't know how many square foot of roof space there is. Utilize that. Don't use our beautiful bluegrass fields for solar panels. There's other options on the Toyota property where you can utilize it and still capitalize on the beautiful surroundings of the factory. That's what we're known for. Just drive through other states and you'll see, trees and factories and buildings. It's not what we're known for here in central Kentucky. We're known for horses. We're known for the rock fences. We're known for our heritage of the bluegrass and all the traditions. Putting solar panels over the fields is not an answer to that tradition, if you ask my opinion. But again, I'm not against going solar. I just think there's other alternatives that would be more beneficial to the community as a whole. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right, hearing none, I'll take
I'll make a
motion if there is some.
Approval of PDP 2024-27.
I'll second it.
Is that you, Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Ms. Singer,
Yes.
Ms. Canfield,
I need to abstain from voting.
Mr. Vest? No. Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. Green is not here, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. All righty. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-1 with one up abstained there. So. All right, if you can see Mr. Perkins at the end of the table there. All right, the next item on the agenda is the comprehensive plan, future land use map, for discussion here.
Yeah. And we put this on the agenda just so I can update the board on the meeting we had last night. So we had a forum on the comprehensive plan where we presented the highlights of the plan and talked through kind of the elements, all the elements, chapters, what the recommendations are. And it was a chance for the public to give us their written comments, which we are collecting. So we collected a lot of the comments last night, but we videoed the meeting and the PowerPoint, and we put that up on our website, so it's on our homepage. So you can tell anybody that asks you to go to our gscplanning.com, our homepage, and the comp plan itself is there. The public meeting video and the PowerPoint is there that they can follow through it. And then there's a survey or response form that they can click on and give us their feedback. So we're gonna.
How long are we can keep that open?
Well, that's what I was about to say.
Oh, excuse me.
We're gonna keep it open. I was thinking till Monday because we want to collect those comments and get them to we can keep it open, indefinitely, but we're gonna collect the comments on Monday and put them in a form that we can get them to the steering committee. So I'll probably try to get the comprehensive plan steering committee together next week, just because I want them to be able to either make a decision on endorsing the plan or give us some guidance on what they want us to do next. But the intention is to get the steering committee to a point where they can endorse the plan, and then so we can bring it to the planning commission. So they don't take any action on it to approve it or anything. It's just an endorsement from them, the group that's been working with us through the whole process. So the intention is to get all the comments together on Monday, get them, schedule the steering committee, hopefully next week, like Thursday, because I'm actually going to be out the following week. So I want to get it together and meet with them. And then ideally bring the comprehensive plan to the planning commission at the regular meeting in July. Your regular meeting there.
But you'll be
I'm
here
already
for
in the
it.
third. Yeah, I'm already.
I think I have that in writing somewhere in time.
So yeah, schedule it at the regular meeting in July or a special meeting. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Do you all think that this is something that needs a special meeting?
I think it depends on what we have on the agenda and how controversial those things are that month.
Yeah, we've got 4 items in for next month. One is a big RV park, RV kind of
one Scott County,
recreation.
Woodford County one?
Yeah, Scott
Yeah.
County, Woodford County line.
That
So-
other RV park, is it coming back then too, do you know?
No.
Okay.
No, not next month.
Okay.
So that's a zone change, so that's a public hearing.
Yeah.
So that may or may not, I imagine that will have, it'll be a intensive thing, a longer, presentation and probably a good amount of people for it. What are the other? Truffle Farm, just a small,
Sounds yummy.
development plan for a truffle farm. Oh.
What's that?
It's another small development plan that might
Oh.
end up being postponed.
Okay.
What was
I would
the
think the
fourth?
RV park might be.
So is, oh,
The what, did you say?
The Moore property up with James Depot, so the rezoning request for ag business.
So maybe 2
Okay.
public hearings?
yeah, two
Okay.
public hearings, yeah, 2 zone changes and then 2 small.
Need a special called meeting.
Yeah, I think so.
Too much.
Yeah.
Maybe the week of the 17th?
I don't think we need to
Oh,
pick a
that's
date
June, I'm
right
sorry, I was
now,
thinking
but
you
I
mean
think that
15th.
next week would be good.
That's what I meant, the week
Yeah.
of the 15th.
The week of the 15th, I
I think
think
that's
would
the
probably
next
be.
week, right?
Yeah,
You get in that next week, that's where you might have a lot of people on vacation too. That following week, like the week of the 22nd, that's when a lot of people
When is,
in downtown.
when's Toyota
22nd
shut down?
I think
July?
Toyota shutdown is the week of the 15th.
What is?
It's usually the 3rd week in July. I will say I'll be out of town the week
Well,
of the 22nd.
we could also do it the same week of planning commission, just a
Yeah.
different day, you know, because planning commission next month is the 11th. We could do it the 12th, that Wednesday or Tuesday.
The 12th is a Friday.
The 10th?
I love y'all, but I'm not coming on Friday. I'm just
Well, I
saying.
mean, I would just suggest we have the compliance steering committee and just see if they're.
Where we are.
Yeah, to the point where they are ready to endorse it or not. I mean, if they are, then we'll have to either through email, schedule a meeting,
Okay.
a special meeting.
I think it's wise to do that. There's just so many people that don't want it. And then when you have these, first of all, your displays and maps here, we did all that. It was great. Will all that also be here for the July meeting?
We still have it, so we could bring it.
I
We
think
can bring
it'd be
it,
good.
but, okay,
Probably some people here in July do kind of.
okay.
But that was very well done. I don't know who made all that. That was
Yeah, these two.
awesome.
Well, and Whitley and Jay.
They're about
yeah.
like the dots.
Yeah, oh, good, good. Yeah, I thought it went pretty well. I mean, I thought we've gotten some good comment. We need 2 weeks' notice, so we got to keep that in mind too. So we've got to advertise and send out notice, and we need at least.
And you're thinking next
so-
week for the steering committee meeting? Thursday, you
Yeah.
said maybe?
I'm going to shoot for Thursday, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, the notice is 7 to 21 days, isn't it, for the complaint? So at least 7 days' notice.
Okay.
But knowing that Ms. Singer's not going to be here.
I shouldn't have let that cat out of the bag.
And I'm not going to be here either, so let's make sure we're all, most of us are here. when
You're not going to be here when?
I thought you were gonna say schedule it for that week since
No,
I'd
the
be
week of
out
the
here.
22nd, I'm not going to be here.
22nd, you won't be
Yeah,
here.
okay.
I won't be here either.
So, would it make sense while we're all
We
sitting
should
here
get it in
together
before the
to
15th,
come up
when you
with
start
a
your new
date
job.
while we're here?
Well, unfortunately,
Well,
it's gonna.
I'm open to coming up with a
depend on the
date, just
steering
a
committee.
tentative date.
Yeah, what comes out of that meeting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll be here.
Then we really need to make sure
But I
other
think it's
people are
very
here.
good if We go ahead and set a tentative date while we're all here. so
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
on this.
I mean, assuming the steering committee recommends it, right?
Right.
I don't
And-
anticipate there'll be, I mean, everybody there, we've all had buy-in all along the way, right? There's nothing new.
There's nothing new other than the urban service boundary and
Yeah.
the future land use, really. Nothing major
Yeah.
that's new.
So if you were doing it then the week of the planning and zoning meeting, we already have Monday night taken.
Could we do
Thursday
it
night
Monday
taken.
night afterwards? After our,
That's good. I think we're already together.
We could hold the workshop in here and then
Have the,
have the
Yeah.
meeting, or have the
Good.
workshop in the small
Oh, on Monday?
boardroom,
the 8th.
The
and then just meet in here after,
Yeah.
Still a good idea.
tentatively.
Yeah,
Okay, the 8th.
that'll work.
Do you want to pick a second tentative? Well, we'll just
I
go
guess it
with
would have
that
to be
for now.
probably like the 10th, right? Would be the second tentative date.
Yeah, that would work for us. The 8th or the 10th? Okay. Is anybody gonna absolutely be gone those days, 8th or the 10th? Okay. All right.
You want to talk about the first?
Yeah, we will when Joe finishes with everything.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
saw my
true.
text.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the third alternative is,
Oh, you had me both called.
the third alternative is just to do it after the regular meeting, just keep it kind of separate.
Yeah.
Just go through the regular agenda and maybe even schedule it later, like 7:30 at certain times, so the public knows,
When to come.
you know.
Yeah, okay.
But, so that's 3 options. Okay. I didn't really have anything else to present other than just tell you the schedule and that we're still collecting comments.
Okay.
The meeting is on our website, so if anybody asks, you can point them to our website.
Okay.
That's good.
I think some people here tonight are here to ask questions or comments about the comp plan, the land use map.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine to take comments. I mean, Charlie might would probably recommend, I would anticipate that he would comment that we probably shouldn't hold a public hearing before a public hearing, but we can take comment. I don't know. Charlie has any
It
comments?
might be better if there were questions.
Okay.
Because you can add anything to your regular meeting agenda. It is kind of a problem when we're required to have a public hearing that we then take some of that information in prior to the public hearing.
Makes
Okay.
complete sense.
So does anyone have any questions that they would like to present that we could have answered for you?
No, we're just here to solve.
Okay, all right,
See how things are done.
all right. Dan, was there anything you had, you had told me before the meeting you had a question. So.
Yeah, I guess next hearing is the important date, but, so it's been stated, I think it was stated last night that and yeah, a lot of the plan looks good, and definitely the staff has done a lot of work, and the committee, yeah, it looks good, and there's lots of exciting things in there. But yeah, so related to the Wiles Farm, which is one controversial part. Yeah, so the question is, it's kind of been stated that a primary reason why we're putting this business park project there, and this is a question, is for revenues for the local community. But then it's not really been explained. That's almost like an anecdotal statement. Like, people are skeptical of how is it, once you consider the impact to the city, the impacts to everything, and you consider I think it's normal you get 10-year tax abatements. It's very hard to make a return on investment when people don't even have 10 years of not paying taxes. And then this is something, and so I know that the staff, and there's sort of this perspective that, well, this regional project is not really part of the plan. It's just, we're just here to talk about zoning and setbacks and architectural looks. But it really does seem like this.
Excuse me, we're really getting into public hearing stuff,
Yeah.
but you're gonna need, for this to be considered and on the record, you gotta come back and say this.
Yeah, okay.
So we really shouldn't be
So,
doing it
we need
outside
a
of
was
public
last
a
night
hearing.
question from
Was
you.
last night a
If you have a
public hearing?
question,
It wasn't, okay.
yeah.
So my question is,
There you go.
yeah. So yeah, what are the economic numbers on this? And I think that this board hopefully will ask that question before you approve it. Like, you all have the power to show us all the numbers. Any question anybody has, answer it. They're not answering the citizens' questions, but this board could say, we're not comfortable going forward with this until we get the answers. And so I hope you all will ask the questions.
Understand too, though,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Holman, when we look at this as a commission, the comprehensive plan, we're considering and approving the comprehensive plan, the future land use map. We're not approving or looking at a development plan or what will specifically be there. Simply, this is recommended designated zoning for this. All of that in terms of, okay, it's going to be the business park and this is what it looks like. All of that will come with a future public hearing where the rezoning would come and a development plan would be presented.
Right.
And we would consider it then. So when we're considering it, it has nothing to do with business park. It is what makes sense for this property here
Yeah.
for future land use.
And we really wouldn't be asking them for their financials.
No,
Then
no.
either.
That would be a
just
question for
like we
city
did with the
council
last
and
one.
the magistrates.
But all this really needs to be taken up
Yeah,
at
okay.
the public
Well,
hearing.
yeah, I think you all have the power to ask whatever question you want to ask. And I have to disagree with what you said.
Okay,
Just
you
now,
can
no
disagree.
offense. But yeah,
No, I'm not
you're the
offended. You
planning
can-
commission. This
people
is the
disagree
plan-
with me all the
plan for
time,
town.
believe you me.
Yeah, we can.
I've never heard that happen. Never.
Ask John, yeah.
We're stating that the primary reason it was stated is for tax revenues, but this is a very strange tax revenue situation where we are actually sending.
Mr. Holman, I
revenue.
hate to interrupt you again, but
That's
you're
okay.
making statements and not asking
apologize.
questions.
Yeah.
Go talk to the mayor and the county judge executive
Yeah.
about
So I
that.
hope you all will.
Thank you.
But you are correct, that has been what's been stated.
Yeah.
What you just said.
All right. Any other questions, comments for the commissioner, for the staff? I'm going to ask the commissioners to stay around just a second.
We talked
got
about
some-
having a short executive committee discussion after.
Yeah. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So granted.
Dan. David Vest, hadn't spoken up all night. There we go.
Yeah.